Inside Istanbul's Topkapi Palace in 1648, you are standing frozen in the dark, suffocating halls of the Ottoman imperial harem. Heavy footsteps echo down the stone corridor as 3 towering eunuchs suddenly grab your arms and press a cold leather cord against your bare neck. Yeah, you are about to die, and you know exactly why. You committed the ultimate sin in the Ottoman Empire. You whispered political secrets to a foreign ambassador and crossed the Valide Sultan, the chief empress mother who controls this entire gilded prison. In this palace, the chief eunuch and the empress hold absolute power over your life. Because you broke the unwritten code of absolute silence, you aren't getting a trial, an attorney, or a chance to explain yourself. They are going to strangle you, tie a heavy iron weight to your ankles, drop your body into a weighted silk sack, and throw you into the pitch-black waters of the Bosphorus Strait before sunrise. Yeah, this gets ugly real fast. People think the imperial harem was just a luxurious paradise, filled with velvet cushions, grapes, and women lounging by marble pools. Jesus, that couldn't be further from the truth. The harem was a brutal, high-stakes pressure cooker, driven by institutionalized female slavery, paranoia, and state-sanctioned violence. You were bought or stolen from Eastern Europe, converted by force, stripped of your real name, and forced to obey a strict hierarchy. If you played the game right, you might catch the Sultan's eye, give birth to a prince, and gain immense wealth. But if you made one wrong move, pissed off the wrong rival, or got caught up in palace treason, you simply vanished. Okay, that's insane, but let's talk about how they actually made women tremble here. The power inside the harem didn't belong to the Sultan. It belonged to his mother, the Valide Sultan, and her chief enforcer, the Kisler Aga, or the Chief Black Eunuch. These 2 individuals ran a terrifying surveillance state inside the women's quarters. Every doorway was guarded. Every letter you sent was intercepted. Every word you spoke was reported by servants looking to gain favor. If you were even suspected of disloyalty, the punishment was immediate, brutal, and completely hidden from the outside world. Let's look at what happened when a ruler went completely insane. Take Sultan Ibrahim I, who ruled in the 1640s. History literally calls him Ibrahim the Mad. He was profoundly paranoid, mentally unstable, and spent his days spending insane amounts of money while accusing everyone around him of plotting against his life. One evening, a rumor spread through the palace corridors that a woman in his massive harem had been unfaithful with an outsider. Ibrahim didn't bother investigating to find the actual culprit. He didn't care who was guilty or innocent. Instead, he ordered his guards to round up his entire harem, all 280 women. Imagine standing in that marble courtyard in the middle of the night, cold wind blowing off the sea, watching guards line up hundreds of terrified young women who had done absolutely nothing wrong. They tied each woman up, shoved them into heavy leather sacks filled with stones, loaded them onto boats, and dumped all 280 of them into the ocean at the exact same time. Only one woman managed to tear through her bag, escape the weight, and survive to tell the story to French diplomats after fleeing to Europe. God, imagine realizing nobody is coming to save you while 200 other women sink around you in the dark. Heh, of course. The system never punished the Sultan for this massacre. Rulers could commit mass murder inside their own homes without facing a single legal consequence, while a slave girl could be executed for glancing at a male guard or hiding a gold coin. The hypocrisy was absolute. If they didn't drown you in the Bosphorus, They had plenty of other ways to break you. The most common daily punishment for smaller infractions was the falaka. They would drag you into a basement room, lock your ankles into a heavy wooden beam, elevate your feet, and beat the soles of your feet with heavy wooden rods until your skin split, and you couldn't walk for months. If you tried to poison a rival concubine's tea to protect your son's claim to the throne, you were forced to drink the poison yourself right in front of the Empress Mother while she watched her morning tea service. Okay, what the hell? It gets even worse when you look at the legendary Kosem Sultan. She was one of the most powerful women in human history, ruling the Ottoman Empire through her sons and grandson for decades. But power in the harem turns everyone into a monster. When her grandson's mother, Turhan Sultan, began building her own political faction to challenge Kosem's supreme rule, Kosem decided to have her 7-year-old grandson assassinated so she could keep absolute control over the state. Betrayal, however, cuts both ways in the dark corridors of Topkapi. Turhan found out about the plot hours before it was supposed to happen. In September 1651, Turhan sent a squad of palace eunuchs directly to Kosem's private chambers in the middle of the night. You hear boots outside, then the keys. The footsteps stop at your door. Nobody says a word. Yeah, you know this isn't good. Kosem tried to hide inside a giant wooden wardrobe, stuffing her priceless jewels into her pockets to bribe anyone who found her. But a piece of her silk dress was sticking out of the cabinet door. The eunuchs dragged the grandest empress of the empire out onto the floor by her hair. She fought back, screaming, kicking, and scratching their faces, but 3 men pinned her to the stone floor. They didn't even use a silk bowstring. They ripped down the heavy velvet curtains from her bedroom windows, wrapped the fabric around her neck, and strangled the most powerful woman in the Middle East to death on her own carpet. When the sun rose the next morning, her body was dragged through the courtyard and tossed outside, while Turhan took over as the supreme ruler without shedding a single tear. The exact same women who served Kosem tea the morning before simply swept the floor, washed the bloodstains out of the carpet, and lined up to bow before her killer. That was the absolute truth of the Ottoman harem. It wasn't a romance novel, and it wasn't a fairy tale. It was a gilded meat grinder where enslaved women were pitted against each other in a zero-sum game of survival, where love meant vulnerability and weakness meant death. If you were smart, quiet, and ruthless, you might wear diamonds and rule an empire from behind a golden screen. But if your foot slipped for a single second, the system wouldn't just kill you. It would wrap you in canvas, toss you into the icy sea, and rewrite the record so nobody ever knew your name. Right now, as the heavy silk bag is pulled tight over your face and the coarse rope bites into your wrists, you hear the quiet splash of the sea waiting just below the wooden trapdoor.